So we've mentioned Hull a few times, the music scene, etc. What are your thoughts on Hull's prospects?
All right.
We've gone through some big changes recently. We've got devolved powers. We've got a Lord Mayor representing the Reform Party. Perhaps that was a little bit of a surprise stroke curveball. The Humber region has been doing really well in the renewables sector recently. What Reform or anti-renewables? How do you think the next 10 years look for Hull from a sort of political and business perspective?
In my previous business with Pagabo, we used to do quite a lot of work in the construction public sector. So Pagabo is a big major player in that space. So we used to attend a lot of the big conferences. I used to knock around with, I still do actually, some of the big players in the consultancies, contractors, and in those sort of arenas. In fact, Bob Kersley, who used to run the government, was my chair for a bit, and he was a mentor to me until he passed away a couple of years ago. So I've met the likes of Andy Burnham, Tracy Bobin, and quite a lot of the Merrill and a lot of senior people. The problem that needs to be tackled in this area is about getting money into this area with a strong, savvy team of people working collaboratively. So that's the local councils, but also with the mayor. Now, look, I don't know Luke Campbell particularly. Was it a shock? Yeah, it was a shock. Is it the right thing? If you wanted my honest opinion, I don't think it is. Put Reform to one side. Reform are certainly taking some of the political narrative at the moment, but are they going to end up in power? I don't know. Are Labour, are they doing a bad job? Difficult to say. Did the Tories do a bad job? Probably. Are Lib Dems? Politics is really... I've always been quite interested in politics. But when you see a lot of stuff on LinkedIn about, really having a pop at certain policies and such like that, what they don't really realise, people on LinkedIn, is they don't realise that working in government is actually quite difficult. It's fine in business, you can make decisions, you can do lots of different things, but when you're working in the public service, there is quite a different approach. And to suggest that everybody in the public sector is lazy and, jobs worse and all that is quite frankly wrong. I've met a lot of people who are some of the cleverest people I've ever met, and in that. Linking that back to politics, linking that back to our Merrill Association, what I would hope Luke can do for this area is start to bring an interest into our region. The one thing I can tell you about Andy Burnham, I've met Andy Burnham quite a few times. When you see him, he is a different level of operator. Whether you like him or not, whether you agree with his politics or not, he is a different level of operator. And he is at a level where he is actually having an influence on government policy, directly or indirectly. Now that might be part of his political journey that he wants to go on. But, in mayors, there is a top table, and then there's a top table of the top table, which I would say Andy Burnham, he's the guy chairing that. Now, the question is, can Luke get to that? Now, he's had success in what he's done, doesn't mean he can't, but the question I would be asking him is, will his party hold him back? Is he in position because Reform picked him because he's popular and they want to use it to kick people? Is this part of that journey? And that's what I would worry about now. And if Hull as an area is a punching bag for that, excuse the analogy with Luke, but then that's not really good for the area, because renewables, was it 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 jobs rely on renewables here? And for Richard Tice, was it on Question Time to go on about stupid net zero and all this sort of stuff, net stupid zero, in a place at Hull University. Sorry, I'm becoming a bit political here, aren't I?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure whether Hull having a Lord Mayor that's in the Reform Party. I'm not sure what messages that sends out to the rest of the country.
So here's a question for you then, right? So my view of a mayor, right, is I don't think a mayor of any area or city should actually be a party, should have a political eye. I think the mayor's job is to be independent. Yeah. So there is a view that any mayor who is appointed should be independent, because then they can work with all the different flavours, and I think that would be better for collaboration.
I was disappointed there was no business people standing for mayor.
Well, Luke's a business person, that's what it said, that's what Reform said.
Well, he's a sports
business person.
Yeah.
No, look,
an independent business person is what I was hoping for.
But there is a reason for that, because I talked to a number of fairly senior business people. Most business people, irrespective of where they are in their careers, they think politics is broken, is difficult, and is a waste of time. So, most very successful people, whatever they do business-wise, pick their sector or what they're going to do because they feel they can have an influence on it. That's probably why they don't pick politics, because it is very difficult to have an influence at any real direct level. Look what's happening to Labour at the moment. I don't agree with everything they've done. I certainly didn't agree with giving the pay rises to some of the unions within a few weeks of them coming in was a good idea if the whole country was in it together. But it is so difficult to change the needle on a lot of these things. So I think that's possibly why. It would be great if some senior business people did consider it, as a public service as that, because we have seen that in history. Hull's got a great history of some very successful sort of merchants, etc. Becoming very, there's statues and all this sort of stuff in Hull because of that, and they've had a great impact on people's lives here.
Yeah. So you touched on LinkedIn.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on the way LinkedIn is developing? I can see you get involved. I follow you. We're connected on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I see you often having discussions with the let's leave the UK and move to the Dubai crew. What are your thoughts on those and LinkedIn in general?
I'd probably pitch it like this. I've always found Twitter and Insta and TikTok and so on, I found them quite destructive to people's lives, because you can post an account on those and you can say pretty much whatever you want and nobody knows who you are. I've often thought you should actually have to publish your name and maybe go through some sort of KYC to actually open an account. That would immediately change a lot of the bullying and the trolling, and we've seen it recently with the ladies' football team about racism and what have you, and stuff like that. That would sort of LinkedIn. There is a bit more verification on LinkedIn, so I don't. People aren't hiding behind pseudonyms or fake profiles. I don't think. So you don't get as much of the vitriol that you would see on some other platforms, but there has clearly been a narrative since Labour got in, having a pop at Labour, having a pop about the taxes, people are leaving the country, the wealth tax, other taxes, the government's crap, let's do what Elon Musk did and do an efficiency thing. Well, that's all gone Pete Tong now, hasn't it? Now he's sort of disappeared. And I think the point I would say is there's nothing wrong with having a comment or a view, an opinion or a narrative on any subject at all. Where LinkedIn, I think, fails often is there are some fairly influential people on LinkedIn, not because they're influential, but because seem to have gained a bunch of followers, so therefore they have an influence. Once they're influential, they're talking about things, and it's more about, I think the term is clickbait. They're trying to throw stuff out there for controversy, and it's often not validated properly. They haven't researched it properly. They've possibly used AI to do the post, so it's spelling mistakes, internal references. That's the bit I don't like. I have no problem in somebody telling me I don't agree with this policy, and then me responding and saying, well, have you thought about this? And them saying, well, yeah, I get that, but what about this? That's a debate, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because that's what we should be about. But to suggest, as soon as there's a wealth tax, everybody, or there's 16,500 multimillionaires and billionaires are going to leave the country and it's bad for the country and move to Dubai. Well, has anybody ever been to Dubai? It's hot. It's not very liberal. If you're gay or you've got some sort of LBGTQ or anything like that, you ain't going to be very welcome. If you're unmarried, you're not going to be welcome. If you want to drink, you ain't going to be welcome. In fact, it's a pretty, I don't think it's a great place to suggest you want to live there for the rest of your life. So I do find it bad.
It's cheap for a reason, isn't it? Cheap as in less taxes. There's a reason for that.
Correct, yeah.
That's the only way they can attract people.
That is the only way they can attract people. And, I did a post recently about when people were going on about this. I said, isn't it better to try and build a business in the UK when you're facing headwinds? Because think how successful you're going to be when you've got tailwinds. Because things go in cycles. No matter what anybody thinks, they go in cycles. There's a lot of... The national insurance is one that makes me... I get it. For large companies, people... There's this assumption that national insurance has gone... There's a lot of people think national insurance for companies has gone from 0 to 15%. They don't realise it's actually gone up by 1.2%. Right? They think it's gone from 0 to 15%. Oh, look at this now, they've introduced national insurance for employers. Well, hang on a second, that's not right. And if you're starting a business, as you will know, Andy, because you advise on this, if you're starting a business, accepting the threshold has come down to $5,000, I think. But if you're starting a micro business, you've actually got more stuff going for you on the national insurance than you did. If you were going to start a business tomorrow, it's quite a good time, number one. Number two, if you're selling a business, if you're planning to sell a business, yes, capital gains have changed marginally. You compare yourself to other countries.
Yeah.
We are still a pretty low tax country here. And to suggest that somebody who runs a 2,000 employee business can just uproot that business and move it across to Dubai, that's different. Final point I'll make on this, because I don't want to feel like I'm getting on a soapbox, but if you're super rich, you don't give a toss about the taxation system in the UK because you've been mobile for the rest of your life anyway. If you're worth 100 million plus, you're mobile anyway. You're living on a yacht or flying around in a PJ. That's how you live your life. So, I just think the people on LinkedIn, a lot of them are doing it for clickbait, and a lot of them are doing it for their own purposes to try and generate clients and what have you, and to generate an almost like a negative bias, really. And that's the bit I don't agree with.
I just wonder where they get these stats from, because
ChatGPT.
last time I left the country to go on holiday, there wasn't somebody standing there at a clipboard asking me if I was coming back.
Yeah.
They didn't ask me how much I earn.
Yeah.
So where are they getting this information from? I suspect a lot of it's just made up.
98.4% of statistics are made up on the spot, aren't they?
You just made that up, haven't you?
Correct. But you are right. Now some of it will be researched from sources. There are sources out there, capital gains tax receipts, they're in the public domain and stuff like that. If you get data, lots of data about anything, if I want to make it look negative, I can make it look negative. If you want to make it look positive, you can make it. The bit I don't like is the sort of underlying vitriol that people are now using on it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's finish off on a lighter note.
Okay.
Hobbies,
yeah.
I know you're into your music. You've mentioned that several times. I think you went to see Oasis.
I did actually. I went to see them at the Heaton Park on the Saturday, the second year. I got in early in case they didn't make it to the weekend.
Yeah.
That was. I did a post about it on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I saw that. It was very interesting. Very comprehensive.
Very comprehensive. Yes, it's. I go to a lot of small gigs. I haven't been to a big gig for a long time. Last time I saw them was in '94 on the Sunday afternoon, actually, at Glasgow. But I have to say, my recollection of big gigs in the '90s were crap toilets, massive beer queues, problems, and all that sort of stuff. This was quite a well-organised gig, actually. Up until the point when the gig finished, and then everybody wanted to get out. That's
exactly the same time.
That's the sort of problem. But
it took you two days to get back to your hotel.
What I would say is, Liam looked up for it. I felt Noel was counting each £1,000,000 every time he strummed the guitar, sort of thing. That felt like that. The quality of the music compared to bands I saw 20 years ago in big stadiums is phenomenal. The screens and stuff. We were fortunate to be towards the front, but I know some people who were at the back, and they said their experience was equally as good.
Yeah.
So look, interesting. The one thing I found really bizarre was when we were waiting for the gig to start, there were 2 adverts on the screens, like one for Land Rover Defender, the vehicle of choice for the Oasis team, which I thought was a bit odd. I didn't realise that's what you did now if you're in a band.
Well, that's another couple of £1,000,000 for them.
And then the other one was the Adidas advert, which has been on TV and YouTube and whatever, which was about 5 minutes long nearly. The whole 3 stripes and all that. I mean, I said in my post, didn't I? I said, you might have made more money buying shares in Adidas this year. I mean, the Adidas stuff in that gig and flying off shelves is phenomenal. I bet their earnings this year will be fantastic. So, but yeah, it was great. I went to see the Cribs a couple of nights ago at Asylum in Hull. They were fantastic. Different sort of gig, 1,500 people, I guess, maybe 1,200 people. But the atmosphere there was better. I've never been one for big outdoor thing because I think some bands are better inside. Richard Ashcroft was great, but he was light when he was on, so it didn't feel as intimate or atmospheric. And with Oasis, it only got dark towards the end of their set. But no, look, it was great. We're going to do a podcast on it, and then I've got, who else have I got now coming up? I've got quite a lot of sort of bits and pieces coming. Tom Meehan. I've got a band called Spangled, who is, I think they're the next big thing. A band called Get Down Services, got Libertines. So a mixture of stuff from my youth, my daughter's youth, and new stuff.
Have you seen the Rat outside Hull New Theatre?
Well, no, yeah, I haven't.
Yeah, so it's got
that's one of all the people who played in Hull.
Yeah, all the sort of tickets from all the different gigs over the last 60 years, I guess. It's quite an interesting.
Yeah, so
go and have a look. So I went to that.
Yeah, so we've got a little WhatsApp group, me and the pals, who we go to gigs, and Lloyd posted that in there, and we were just trying to work out which ones we've been to. I've been to quite a lot of them. I've been to all of them, obviously, but and my pal Gerard, who's called Gerard as well, who I do the podcast with. The podcast called Play One We Know. I think I might have said that earlier, but he's been to a lot more than me on there. He's been to quite a lot. I have seen it.
Yeah. And are you going to Coldplay?
No, I'm not actually. No.
Are you not a fan, or could you not get tickets?
I went into the ballot thing and didn't get a ticket, but I do know somebody who could get me a ticket. But I'm not actually a massive fan. I think it'll be great.
Great for the city.
It'd be great for the city. The one thing I would say, Andy, I mean, you go to Rovers, I go to Rovers. The one concern I would have is getting in and out of Craven Park, because 20,000 people, it's just can be quite difficult on a match day. Never mind when there's twice as many people there, I suppose.
Yeah, I think there's shuttle buses and all sorts of car parks.
Yeah, but look, you are right. It's great for. I mean, just to. When Coldplay came out and said, "Oh, we're doing 2 venues this year, Wembley and Craven Park," it was like, sorry, did somebody say it was Craven Park?
Yeah. I mean, even if it had been Hull, it'd have been wow. Yeah. But to be specifically at Craven Park.
But that's because of Neil's friendship with Simon Moran, I think, isn't it? But he's a manager.
Owns Warrington Wolves.
Yeah, that's Simon Moran. Yeah, SJM.
Yeah.
They look after Coldplay, but Coldplay are an interesting band because they're giving 10% of their worldwide receipts to support grassroots music.
Yeah, very charitable, aren't they?
Yeah, they in fact they give 10% of the profits of their band and everything they do to charity each year, and then the rest of it is split equally. Not so sure that's the template for the Oasis brothers.
No. And just finishing on hobbies, you're a Hull KR fan.
I am, yeah,
Hull
NFC.
City?
Yeah, I've been going to Hull City as a vice president since 2010, so that's quite a few years. I'm in the 15th year, so I've seen a lot of different owners, seen lots of different challenges. I've been on social media about some of the owners, which got me some attacks on that sort of stuff when I did some of that. But look, we got this new guy came in on a lot of hope and ambition, and it's tough at the moment. There's a new manager. I mean, has he got the managerial decisions right or wrong? I think if you read the sort of the history, we've possibly got it wrong. I think the Tim Walters was a bad decision. Ruben Sellers kept us up on goal difference. But I don't know whether you were surprised when we got rid of him, for him to turn up at Sheffield United, which is probably a much bigger team than we are.
Well, we will know within 2 or 3 months whether getting rid of him was the correct thing or not.
But this embargo is probably going to, if we're not careful, we could have a bad start to the season. And
it's just come at a really bad time, hasn't it? When you're trying to sell memberships, sell sponsorships.
Yeah, I don't know what the impact is on the commercials, but like all real fans, you carry on going thick or thin, don't you? Because that's what you do. It's something to talk about in the pub afterwards.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Look, you said the brand.
Yes, thank you. I've learned a lot of things about you that I wasn't aware of. It's been really nice getting to know you a little bit better.
Okay.
So thank you very much. Just remind everyone of the website address for Thankyü again.
www.thankyü.com.
And the podcast?
Is called Play One We Know on Spotify. And the reason it's called Play One We Know is my pal Gerard, who I go to gigs with all the time, is whenever we go and see a band and they play their most famous song, he always shouts out, "Play One We Know," which sometimes gets a laugh and sometimes gets a load of abuse. So that's why we call the podcast that.
Okay. So thanks, Gerard.
Thanks, Andy.
You've been watching the Purple Surfer podcast. We'll see you again soon.
Great. Thank you very much.